So I've seen a couple of people fish off the bridge. I guess they were after bass. And strangely enough, just as I was walking over the bridge, I saw a fish swirl. So parking here is difficult, but you can park over there, just there, which is on the roundabout. So here, this is going to be difficult because there's a lot of wind today. It's very muddy. There's a big flood prevention scheme going on around Portsea Island at the moment. And this is new. Well, it's not that new, it's been here about a year. We'll see some more evidence soon. We're only a couple of hours after high tide and it's already gone out, look. Now this little bay here, I've never heard of anybody fishing it. And as you can see, it's very weedy with grass in it. And just over there, look, there's Kendall's, where we're going next. There's a little creek there, that might hold something. Maybe an eel or some mullet. Well, I can't show you what I wanted because of the flood defence works. But just there you go, you can see it. Just there is a slipway. I've fished off there before at low tide. No luck. But you can see the channel's quite deep there because of Kendall's for the ships. And I've heard a rumour that there's some big bass that live there. So we're at the site of the old jetty on the Eastern Road, which they're calling Langston Harbour Viewing Car Park. There's some more information about what they're doing on the defence works. So if you look carefully, you'll be able to see all the way up to Kendall's, and they're working all the way down here. Right, that big white house is the Harvester pub. Some people have caught behind the Harvester, but don't park in the car park because you'll get caught. Ask me how I know. At low tide, you might be able to see the little line there. That's the channel. And as you can see down here, it's again very shallow. That's looking out to the main channel. So this bit here is fishable, and lots of people park here and fish here. It used to be a really productive area back in the days because there used to be an old jetty that stuck out here. But nowadays, as you'll see in a second, there's just some bass around. There's a really old spit that goes out for a long way. I've seen some people wade out past the spit and fish lures for the bass. So you'll see in the distance where those trees are, that's Milton Common. Between here and Milton Common, I've fished a few times and I've been quite successful, as you'll see. And that second notice sums it up quite nicely. So as you can see, if you look up there, you should be able to make out the People's Memorial. And there's the spit, and we were just the other side of the spit. As you can see, the layout here is the same all the way out, just past the seaweed. That's where I've caught most of my fish along here. And as you can see, there's no real defining channels or anything. And there we go over to the entrance. So this is where the wall starts that goes round to Milton Lock. And we'll be going down there in a minute. So this is called Swan Lake, because just behind that tree there's a freshwater lake. There is some on-road parking at the end of this path at the end of Moorings Way. Now, there have been quite a few bass caught here, but for those that don't know, the harbours each side of Portsea Island are bass nursery areas and there are restrictions. Legally and officially, you can still keep 2 bass within the time guidelines. At the moment, it's 2 bass per angler per day over 42 centimetres. However, in the bass nursery areas, you are requested to put them all back. Now me, I haven't taken a single one. Longshore Way or Milton Lock. So just there you can see the wall at the other end from where we were just a minute ago. And there's the ramp for the sailing club here. And just across the way is Southsea Marina. So there's a little bay here, and again I've not heard of anybody fishing this bay, and where those houses are, you're not allowed down on the shore because of the marina, all the way down to where we're going next. So that's the Hailing Ferry, and this is the Hailing Ferry car park, and it's free parking here. So this is called the Point, because there's a bit of a spit, and apparently it's a really good place to spin for bass. I've never done it, but I think I'll come over here during the summer. Now I've got all those lures. So I fished both sides of this pontoon, but beware, it's incredibly snaggy. Oh look, there's somebody fishing there. Don't know if he's bait fishing. Looks like he is. Right. Now this side, I've seen lots of people mackerelling off here in the past, and obviously I've fished up here as well. So there's a couple of parking spaces along the road here, right up to the lifeboats. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's quite a tide run here. It's going down to low, and the tide here rushes out treacherously. There's a couple of people fishing there. So I've fished here as well. As you can see, it's quite rocky. Good place to lose a lot of rigs. But you can see the seaweed line. I've had a couple of fish from here. Bass and black bream. But this is the Eastney outfall jetty. So, if you look back up the harbour, there's the RNLI, and you can see the beach. It's quite a steep beach here, but lots of people fish it. And if you look down here, there's an old concrete platform, and just off the edge of the platform I've had plenty of really small fish, blennies and gobies and things like that. You can see this seaweed line. So obviously from that beach you don't need to cast out far to get into the deep water. And I've seen lots and lots of people catch lots and lots of mackerel off the beach there. Now, as we come up the jetty, anywhere along the jetty on a flood tide facing up into the harbour can get results at various times of the year. You've just got to watch out. Fishing on here can be really quite windy and cold because the jetty sticks out. There we go, the halfway point. And the halfway point is the place I like to fish. Now this is where I catch a load of mackerel and garfish. Now, as you can see, we've come out of the harbour. So the muddy, slushy bottom has finished now, and it gives way to a load of gravel. If you can get on the end of the pier, it's always good. But down the side here, all the way along, especially up by the structure, you can get lots of little fish. You can get wrasse, you can get long spine scorpions. Now that is a snaggy thing. I've not caught a lot of bigger fish on this side. So, before I turn you around into the wind, I'll talk you through. I'm now going to point you over to the old pier, the old outfall jetty, which is now derelict. And a lot of people fish there, and that is in fact the place I caught my first fish when I moved to Portsmouth. On a really small spinning reel, I caught a mackerel. So here we go. The wind's going to be a bit. Now off the end of the pier, the old jetty there, You can catch all sorts of things, but the tide doesn't half rush past. But there's a couple of people over there spinning for bass, and just here you can see the end of the harbour entrance. Round the corner is the nudist beach. Now all the way around here people fish for with lures for bass. Access onto the pier is a bit difficult because the path pinches here where the fence comes up. This car park is the biggest free paying car park in Portsmouth, so you get an awful lot of people down here. Eastney nudist beach. So there's the end of the corner from Fort Cumberland, and you can fish all the way along there to the groins, but when the tide comes up you can fish on the top there. Right at the end there's a concrete walkway that goes right up to Fort Cumberland and then stops, and as you can see there's people fishing here. Right, so all the way down there is Eastney Beach, and you'll see South Parade Pier in the distance. Now what I'm going to say applies for all of this beach all the way along here. What a cracking little beach it is. You can get all sorts of fish along here. Let me just put you up that way while I talk. You can get big bass, big smoothhounds, you can get plaice, you can get garnered. Yeah, the inevitable whiting, as you'll see. It's a really good spot for general fishing, but what you've got to watch out for is people. It gets horrendously busy down here. So here we are at the blocks. These are anti-submarine blocks that go all the way out into the Solent. The only way you can get through them in a boat is here between the green and red posts. Now, fishing is really good here. Each side of these blocks you can get some cracking fish here, and this is the only place I'm aware of around Portsmouth that there's been a trigger fish caught. Yes, you heard me. A couple of years back, gentlemen just up here caught a trigger fish during the summer. So like I say, it's a cracking place for fishing. Now if you get too close to these blocks, guess what happens? Yes, you get snagged, as I have been. My PB ray I caught just along here, and it's easy access from the Canoe Lake car park, but that's payable. We are now in payable territory of Portsmouth. Now if I turn you around, you're probably not going to hear my voice again, but I'm going to put you at South Parade Pier, simply because I don't think I'm going to be able to get close enough with the car to talk about it. But the only fishing you can do on South Parade Pier now is on the boat deck on the end, which is right to the left, the little bit that sticks down. From the beach you can fish each side of it. Now off of the boat deck you can catch all sorts of things. Because it's stuck out into the water and it doesn't dry out, you can fish it on most tides. And there's been all sorts caught on there. Big congers, big rays, all sorts of stuff. there's plenty of parking for the nudist beach. In the car park there, all the way along this little road. And to find the beach, you go down that path down there. Along Eastney Beach, there's two of these disabled, they call them disabled ramps. But all they are is this heavy reinforced plastic netting. And they expect the wheelchair people to be able to get down here. I've had to help somebody get back to their car once, but the annoying thing is it stops before they can see the water. So if you imagine you're in a wheelchair, you're coming along here, then you've got to somehow get up this little rise. And that's it. Right, so here we are, back at the beach. There's a nudist beach up there, and there's South Pier down there. The other one of these ramps is just this side of that building down there, which is the Coffee Cup, which is at the bottom of St George's Road. Most of these ramps, because it's easier access to walk, have a lot of people on the beach here. And if you want to fish, it's probably better during the summer to wait till the evenings. Now, somewhere else that's good with the access is halfway down between these two parts. It's the site of the old Marines barracks. Now, because the Marines were there during the Second World War, if you've seen Cockleshell Heroes, that was based on the people that operated out of the Marines barracks there. And because they had to push their craft on the beach, it's reinforced. So that's another firm place to be able to walk on. It's not as firm as this. You wouldn't be able to get a wheelchair on it. But I found it's easier to walk down there. One of these three spots that's easier to walk down with your fishing stuff to the beach. So this car park is behind the D-Day Museum, and it's an extremely large car park, but it's not free. So there's Southsea Castle, and the pyramids are just the other side. And just here is the bandstand, and I've fished all the way along here before. It can be quite good, but it can also be snaggy. But if you can get out as far as you can to that green post, it's amazing what fish can be caught there. And just there is the roof of the Blue Reef. So as I was saying, there's Southsea Castle, and there's the pyramids just the other side of it. And you see me fish there quite a few times. So it is good fishing all the way along here. So we're at Southsea Beach. Parking is on the road here, all the way down to the hovercraft, and there's a big car park across the road. So we're at Southsea Common. That white building there is the Blue Reef, and you can see the rails on the side where the walkway goes round. Now as we come down here, I've fished this wall a couple of times. I think I've had a pouting and a whiting here, but look down here, you've got to be careful if you fish here, because there's all this obstacles. Now the other side of the obstacles, you're going down towards Mozzarella Joe's and Clarence Pier. Now the beach, as you can see, is a bit steeper here, and it's a bit rockier as well. I fished here in a couple of the competitions. Now within easy reach, within easy casting reach, there's a small channel, a deeper channel, so you can get some good fish along here, but it also can be a bit snaggy. I think I've had a decent conger along here from the beach anyway. So for the hot walls and Victoria Pier, there's parking here. And there's the old church without a roof. And we're coming up to the other side of the works, from the other side of the Clarence Pier. There we go. So, not a lot I can say about that really. So some years back, I actually fished in this corner, but there's quite a deep drop to bring the fish up, and you can see the seaweed there. Let's show you over the, there you go. So it was quite a haul to bring the fish up. Now if we look this way, down towards the entrance of Portsmouth Harbour, there's Victoria Pier. And we'll go and have a look on it. So Vicky Pier, locally, is a really famous place to fish, because a lot of people bring their children down here to fish, as there's a little guardrail. Right, I'm just going to put you into the wind a minute. Now, I've seen plenty of people catch bass on this side, but the problem you've got is the weed. And also, look at that god-awful lot. Now, if you're going to fish here, ideally you could do with getting past that green post, but you've got a problem with the back cast. But if you can get out past the green post, you're into the deep channel and there's some good fish. Now, I've seen some good rays, some good hounds and some good bass caught off here. Now there's Hot Walls and Hot Walls Beach. Now look, on this side, just down here, it's a lovely little place to catch wrasse, blennies, gobies, all your small things. I've seen loads of people catch bait fish from here. But what you've got to watch out for is all the kids come up here because they like jumping off here. And it is a very popular place. Now look, I keep talking about the seaweed. If you notice, just opposite that old jetty there, it seems to disappear. It is a lot less. I think the current's too strong for it as we go around the corner there. But like I say, just to reiterate, this is a really good little spot, but that is a problem. So if you're going to fish here, you don't want to fish at low tide. You want to fish where there's a lot more water in, and bring your stuff in quite quickly. Now there's a bench over here, so if it rains you can take shelter. Now on a bigger tide, I've seen people fish here for some bass, and it was okay. But there you go, there's Vicky Pier. Now this is an incredibly popular beach because of all the heat that's reflected off the walls. And it's a really good spot for fishing. Parking's a bit difficult because it's getting a bit expensive now as we come down towards Old Portsmouth. And obviously you get a lot more traffic on the water. When you chuck out, it can be snaggy. It seems to be snaggier the further you go around the corner. It's worth trying though, because you can get into the deep water and you can catch some good fish. Now all I've managed to do here is catch bigger size pouting and bream. And I've had a lot of pollock off of this beach because you can get into the deep water with your feathers. People mackerel off here as well. But we're coming down to the round tower now. See, I quite fancy having a go with the lures around here. I have heard some people have lure fished around here and they've been quite successful. I've also heard that people have had a few rays and things from here. But me, on this little mark here, just snagged a few times. Because the trouble is, if you fish at a low tide, all the seaweed is more exposed. Now look, here we go, there's people feathering for mackerel around here. So now we're coming round to one of my little favourite spots, the edge of the round tower. Don't climb on the rocks, it's dangerous. There's enough notices up there to tell you. But now look, just there, see that seaweed? That's got plenty of my weights and lures in it, that little patch there. Because it's such a good place, I keep coming here and I keep losing them. Now this is where I've done a lot of my fishing. There's a couple of big flat rocks there. Right, we're just coming to the benches. Now parking here is a bit difficult. There's a small car park here. Your best bet is to park where I'll show you in a bit, on Spice Island. So here we go. The benches. Now I've done plenty of videos off here, but yet again, seaweed and rocks are the problem. But if you can get out there, it's good for mackerel, good for bass, pollock, and there's even been a cod caught here. Yes, you heard me. And a big conger as well. So there are big fish out there. Loads of people fish here. It gets rather packed with mackerel feather chuckers during the summer, and you do have to watch out for retrieving, bringing it in nice and fast to avoid all those rocks. Now on a higher tide, if you're catching a string of mackerel or anything, you could bring them around this way, because with the high, when the water's higher, it's over these rocks, so you can actually get to that ramp, which is a bit easier. Now across the car park from the benches is a secret little spot. It's hardly secret, but it is little. I've had a couple of small wrasse out of here, but it's a very small little spot. There you go. I don't know what it was originally designed for, but you can get down here amongst these pilings. But guess what? Yes, it's snaggy. I haven't tried float fishing here, so that might be something worth trying. But I've done bottom fishing and snaggy, you guessed it. I think that's the problem in Portsmouth, with a lot of the stuff being in harbours. There's all sorts of, big word time, detritus on the bottom. So, let's go up to the point. Oh, I don't think I need to tell you anything about this. This is an incredibly popular fishing spot because of its convenience. There's big hounds off of here, there's big bass off of here, there's loads of mackerel and pollock and pouting and bream and all sorts of stuff. And the bonus is, you got the two pubs, Still and West, Spice Island Inn. Now because the tide's gone out, we should be able to see, there you go, brilliant. Now if you're fishing this side, those big rocks can be a problem, because you get a bit of an eddy here sometimes with the current going back down towards those rocks. Now obviously there's lots of the big rocks all the way along here, and there's a nice little beach. Now looky here, look at all that bloody weed out there, and just there there's a little hard, there's some nasty structures out there. Lots of people, about halfway along this mark here and to the left of the seaweed, there is a really strong, I don't know if it's a bit of iron or if it's a bit of concrete, but people have lost loads, so it's better to fish slightly to the left of it or to go to the right of the post. You can see to the left of the post there's lots of structure there, Again, it's better to fish here on the flood, although I've seen somebody down on the beach there chucking feathers out in the summer, getting loads of mackerel. Couple of people fishing here. Now, in those seaweed down there, that's where I've caught loads of the little wrasse and things, and half decent wrasse as well. And from this point, going out into the deeper water, we've had some really good bream and bass as well. How are you getting on?
Not bad.
Caught anything?
Not yet, no.
So, just here, we've got a little launch slipway that takes you straight down into the seaweed, and just beyond the seaweed. Yeah, seaweed, seaweed, seaweed. And there's another slightly deeper water mark there. Now, I've seen somebody catch mullet there. Now, I've not had any mullet, but I've certainly had plenty of fish here. But look at all that weed. It's no wonder that I've retrieved a lot of tackle from around here. So you can access this side, and I have fished it, but I've always given up and gone back up to the point on that corner there because it's just too snaggy. Now this is the car park I was talking about, behind the Spinnaker Cafe, look. And there's the Spice Island Inn. So this is your best bet for parking if you want to fish. But again, it's not free. Now, from this car park, you have got the entrance to the pilot's jetty. Now the pilot's jetty used to be a really good place to fish. Because it goes right out into the water, and there's always fish there. But because of some idiots ruining it for everybody else and not letting the pilot actually land his launch, they've now stopped fishing on the pilot's jetty. So thanks to you idiots. Now around that jetty and around this slipway and the edge of the, don't know what you call this massive pontoon, it's a good place to do your LRFing, and I'm going to do some of that this year as well. Do some drop shotting and see what we can come up with, because there is water there and there's structure. Now this is what used to be Ben Ainsley Racing's building, and you're allowed to fish all the way around here into Camber Dock. Now on the point here where these lads are jumping in, that is a good place because you can cast out into the entrance to the Camber Dock and you can see quite clearly the boats coming in and out. The problem you've got here, there's no guardrail for the kids to fish, but it is really popular because it's deeper water. You can get some fairly decent bass and you can get some fairly decent wrasse. Now as we go round into Camber Dock, you'd think the fishing would get better and better, because round the corner you've got a fish, well, not fishmongers, but a fish warehouse. But strangely enough, on that last lifeboat there is the last place I've caught fish. I lost my camera down there, so I don't need to tell you, that was the underwater camera, don't need to tell you how snaggy it is. But across across the other side where the ferries go, it's deep. There are fish, but by God, there's some structure out there. So this is the hard, and your only place to fish down here is at the end of this jetty, and apparently you can get some really big wrasse and really big bass there, but it's only fishable at low tide, and you've got to watch out for the hailing ferry. Do not try and take any video, because the ministry is just over there, the Navy. Right, so we're at Stamshore, or Whale Island, and there's free parking here for 48 hours, I think it said. But you have to watch out in the evening, because you get people up here canoodling in cars. There's a few benches here. Now this is the entrance to Whale Island over there. And it's limited fishing, but you can catch fish here. Basically eels and bass and mullet if you're lucky, and it's the same for the other side. And there we go, there's the shoreline at Stamshore. As you can see, it's predominantly mud, but there are gullies here, and you can catch eels. Particularly you can get the green eels or the common eel up here, but if you go right up to the top there to the firing range, you can get into the channel for the deeper water to get the bass, but it's a bit of a walk. We're up opposite Hilsea Lido, near Hilsea Lines, and it's free parking in this car park. And there's the A27 up the top, just going on to the M27. Now, I think, is this called Hilsea Creek? Or Portsbridge, Mike? Is this called a Hilsea Creek or Portsbridge? Right, okay. So there we go, the area is called Portsbridge, but this is Hilsea Creek. Now, it's not quite low water yet, so you can see how little water goes up. And look at the mud. Now, I know some people love fishing this at low water. I don't know how they do it though, because if you walk along that brickway, that's not going to be, mind you, I guess further up, look, if they did it in the flood, on the flood further up the top there, it looks like the water might be more accessible, but not here. Now I've heard and I've seen people catch quite a few mullet out of here. I think mullet, eels and bass is probably all you'll catch. And just round the corner up the top there is where we started this all.